All right, minding your business community. Thank you so much. We're at episode now number 194 of the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. Excited for you to be here today. Thank you so much for your support, ongoing of the podcast. Continue to support us. If you haven't already, give us a 5-star positive review on app that continues to allow me and the team here on the MYB community to connect with more like-minded people like yourself and continue to grow this dynamic and very positive community and grow this podcast to where we want to take it for new heights. But again, thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about today's guest that we have today with us. His name is Robin Marcenac. He is just a tremendous individual. He's the head of customer experience and success at Pipestream, where you want to go. Pipestream.com. Pipestream.com is where you want to go to learn more about this company. But today we're going to learn some about the company and about Robin himself. And so, Robin, thank you so much for joining here, man, on the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to chat here over the next 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Robin, let's jump right in. So talk to me a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, happy to. So I am about 10 years into my career. I've followed I would say maybe a more traditional career path than some of your listeners who I understand are entrepreneurs and really starting to, work on their own business ideas. I actually joined Pipestream about 2 years ago, just over 2 years. And before that, I was with IBM, big bad, big blue IBM. And I was there for about 6.5 years. I spent, the majority of my career up until this day in customer experience. So a huge part of what I really love doing and what motivates me is kind of working with companies. So we work, when I was with that IBM and with Pipestream, larger companies that want to deliver really great user experiences and kind of immersive experiences for their own customers. And so at Pipestream, what we do is work with large companies, probably not the typical listener of the podcast here today, but we work with large companies who are looking to really digitally transform their solutions and their experiences that they deliver to their consumers. So that's a lot of kind of customer support. So if you're a listener here today and you've had a bad experience online with your phone provider or your cable provider, and you try and chat or you try to call and you just get terrible customer support, what we're trying to do is transform that, make it enjoyable, if you can believe it, to actually interact with your telephone provider or your cable provider or your at-home security provider, so that we're taking kind of all the information that these companies know about you and automating that through a chat, through an interface that is really kind of transformational and a lot more kind of user-focused, as opposed to kind of the clunky solutions that you have online today. So that's kind of my journey. I'm based in New York City. I live in Brooklyn. If any of your listeners are here in Brooklyn, it's good to have you guys. Recently married. Actually, I shouldn't say recently. I got married 2 years ago. So living the married life. And despite the pandemic, still enjoying New York City. Don't believe what they say out there about New York. It's still thriving. And I encourage anyone to come out here. So
yeah. Yeah, that's definitely. Certainly, you're not brand newlywed, but definitely congrats. Like I say, my wife and I've been going over 13 years, and so definitely, glad to have you on that side, the married side. And New York. Yeah, yeah, and New York City is definitely getting some flack. Certainly during this pandemic. So we do have listeners that are there in the New York area, and so they could probably echo what you're saying, that New York is still going very well despite some of the news that gets out there about the city and as it relates to the pandemic and everybody kind of running away allegedly from the city. So we'll see with that. But so Robin, with Pipestream, and you talked about that customer experience with some of those larger brands. What are some things specifically that kind of you and your company do to help enhance that experience? And along with that, are the companies that you work with fairly open to working with you guys, or do you experience kind of some pushback as sometimes companies may feel they're doing well enough, or they feel like they don't need help and that sort of thing? Kind of unpack that a little bit for us.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, the enterprise world is, I guess I'll start by saying, if you're a small business owner, you're, an entrepreneur trying to create your own business, you might think, wow, like an enterprise company is so much different. It's so much more red tape, so much larger. And yeah, you'd be right in thinking that, but there are a lot of similarities. And when I think of, working in the enterprise space, we have people who want change and people who don't want change. And, when you're starting your own business, it's probably because you see something that's broken and you see something that needs to change. And so there's always going to be adopters and people who are maybe laggards or who don't want to see that change. So for us, we wouldn't be working with the companies we work with unless there were, a large contingent of people who see the value and who want to work with a company like Pipestream to drive that change. And typically we're working with people who are, chief digital officers, chief customer experience officers, people in the customer support organization, people that want to see that change. But of course, there's always, IT needs to come along. And this is where, the complexity of working in a big organization. It's nice to transform. It's nice to integrate into all these cool backends and deliver, a nice chat experience that has videos, that has carousels, that's, swipeable and interactable and gives all these cool features, but it needs the support of a lot of people for that vision to come to life. So we work with customers across many different industries, all of whom see the value of automating customer support or automating a shopping experience or an online recommendation experience where you kind of find the best product or the best service for your needs. But it does require, a lot of involvement and support from people across the organization. And that's part of what my team does. And what I do is to make sure that we have the right people at the table to get these kind of the vision to life.
Yeah, excellent. And Robin, in my experience, I in my career, I led a 20-seat call center at a bank here in Memphis, and one of the things that we always were challenged with was improving the customer experience around the amount of time they spend on the phone, directing them in the right direction, and determining based on what their needs are, right, and what they needed to contact us for, and that was always an ongoing thing. And I was always presented challenges. And actually, one of the things that we implemented there was a chat feature. So it was kind of an early kind of somewhat version of the chat feature. I'm talking, this is 2016, 2017 time frame. And we implemented a chat feature that did very well. It had some clunkiness to it, kind of early on, but we worked through those bugs and were able to get that going. Talk about that chat feature, because now I use it for like my utility company. They're really good at kind of hopping on the chat. It's so much better. I don't have to wait as long like I do sometimes on the phone, and it's easy to kind of do that and somewhat multitask. Even a little better than when being on the phone. And so talk about that evolution of that chat function and kind of where you guys work with companies to help take them to that next level, specifically around chat.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bread and butter of our business is really digital chat, digital messaging. So, Pipestream exists primarily when we work with companies on their website. but we also exist on different channels. So if you're, out there and you're interacting with, you said a utility company, right? So New York, that's Con Edison. You might be able to interact with them not just on their website, but you might be able to text with them, or maybe, chat even on Facebook Messenger or Apple Business Chat, which is basically the equivalent to iMessage, but for like the enterprise world. And so we're deploying chat on all these different platforms because we've been able to integrate into them as the front end. So, I think chat, and specifically like chat bots, which is a term that we try to not use too much at Pipestream, have a really bad reputation. And that's because there's been a really poor experience around them. And so what we bring is a much more kind of automated end-to-end chat experience, so that when you're coming in and you're asking for support, or you need to actually pay your bill or defer paying your bill, or change maybe the type of service you get from your utility provider, basic solutions today, you can't really do much. You can't get that information because they're very limited. They're single tasks. So Pipestream tries to take that a step further by pulling in disparate systems and data from those systems, so we can do really end-to-end support, or end-to-end kind of customer management, where we get that full 360-degree view of who this person is and what we can do for them. And I guess the last thing I would say is, our goal is not to entirely displace the call center. We see, there's things that humans and agents will always do better, or at least for the next couple of years, will continue to do better than automation. And so we try to use automation to tackle the areas where, these tasks can be automated very easily, and then defer to agents and give them the context and the information they need, where they can do the job the best, right? And maybe help someone resolve a more complex issue, or make sure that they don't cancel their subscription and things like that. So, automation and humans, to me, coexist together. And over time, automation will take a larger role as progressively it evolves and improves.
Yeah, definitely, Robin. And I love the way you put that, because it kind of mirrors my thought of technology and humans, and that technology should not replace the human interaction. It should enhance it. And so technology, like you mentioned, should kind of take care of those repetitive, somewhat mundane tasks, so that human beings can do what they do best, which is build relationships with each other, right? And from those relationships, handle either those more heartfelt issues, right? When you have an issue with a bill that's related to maybe some one-off behavior or one-off interaction or something like that, that artificial intelligence, like you said, will eventually catch up with. But to me, and what we tried to do in with the bank was, I wanted to convert the call center into essentially another branch, right? So it's not just a service area where questions get dumped, what's my balance, and why didn't my transfer go through, and that sort of thing, to where there's a sales funnel that took place, Robin. And so what we were able to do was create opportunities to further develop the relationship. So someone calls in with an issue, the call center is then equipped with human beings that could, in an automated fashion, handle those things that you mentioned. What's my balance? Can I set up a payment arrangement? All those things that can be set up in an automated fashion. And then that allowed the people to spend more time in things that, quite frankly, generate revenue, right? Which is, could you talk about a new account, or talk about a loan, or talk about the rates and things like that, so they could further have that conversation. And so I love the way you put that, because that's really what I saw technology as, was that, having people spend more time in the people function that ultimately generates revenue, as opposed to transactions. And so I love that, how you put that. And so where do you see things kind of going on that service side? Because obviously there's going to be towards artificial intelligence, and companies will look at, obviously it's always the economics, right? And leverage against artificial intelligence and that sort of thing to automate processes even more. So, where do you kind of see that piece of it here in the next several years as we get through the pandemic, Robin? Where do you see companies, really putting that investment? And do you think that they look at people as, that long-term solution along with artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think, look, for the foreseeable future, there'll continue to be a role for automation and that human touch. I do think over time, you're going to see that, the AI capabilities, the natural language understanding capabilities when it comes to understanding the emotional context of a conversation or an interaction with the human, those will continue to improve, and that's areas where Pipestream is heavily investing. So yes, naturally over time there'll be a shift to more and more automation. But I think whether you're a large company, a smaller size company, and you're looking at like how do you manage and ensure that the product that you're providing, whatever that may be, the product or service, meets the expectations of your customers, you need to be focused on that customer experience and not just the experience with the product, but the experience with the company as a whole. And so for Pipestream, we look at ways in which, the call center doesn't need to just be a cost center, like you said, right? Automation doesn't just need to be a way in which you cut costs in your company. It's a way to generate revenue, generate new leads, increase conversion on your website. So especially in a post-COVID-19 world where, people have moved to be remote, consumption is obviously moving out of brick and mortar and more towards online and digital shopping. Automation can play a huge role in taking advantage of that macro level trend in the way in which people are now interacting with the brands and the companies that they used to maybe interact with in person. And automation can play that role in terms of, again, improving conversions, because we can understand that someone came in from an ad on Instagram or someone was browsing for some of our competitors' products, and we can come in and have automation be very contextual and very kind of almost like a concierge or someone that's coming in and really meeting the needs of that consumer. So I think that is a trend I see. I think, again, automation plays a big role in that. And as we progress in that direction, there's going to be that human in the loop, that person who's there and available as well to provide that additional support if and when needed, right?
Yeah, excellent. No doubt about it. And Robin, for Pipestream, what size companies do you typically look to work with? I know you've mentioned working with some larger enterprises, but we have some folks that are listening that may have more of a Shopify, one or two person shop, but they're really concerned about that customer experience, like you say, not just with their product or service, but with their actual company, even though they're very young. Would you work with a company that say, they've got a nice proof of concept, they've got some sales, they're viable, but maybe they're not quite enterprise level yet, but they've got some, kind of a good platform going. Is that a size company that could approach you and do business with you, or would they need to be at a more of an enterprise level?
Yeah, again, good question. The short answer is we do work primarily with larger enterprise companies. These are companies that themselves have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of interactions with their consumers on a weekly or monthly basis, right? So these are, typically companies with a market cap in the 100 million, if not billion-dollar range, publicly traded companies. And the reason for that, to be frank, is that as a SaaS company, which Pipestream is, we really look at usage of our product and usage of the platform, and that does feed into our pricing model. With that said, we're doing some exciting partnerships with e-commerce and retail, looking at companies similar to Shopify, and looking at ways in which we can embed our product into those platforms. In the travel space, we're doing a lot there as well. So even as a smaller, medium-sized business down the road, it's very possible in the near future that you could see, Pipestream as like an add-on or a service that, as a Shopify customer or as, a customer leveraging, out-of-the-box capabilities from these types of e-commerce or online vendors, that, you might be able to flip switch and start using Pipestream as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that would be very helpful for, some of the smaller companies. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking of companies that have, 50,000 in revenue, maybe 100,000 in revenue, where, like say, they've kind of proven themselves. I mean, they're not like right out the box, idea, but maybe, they're a year or two in, and but they're looking at, how do I automate? Because they may be, answering chats themselves, right? They may have a chat function embedded in their website, and they may be answering chats and things like that themselves. But as sales continue to increase, and their scope increases, that they may want to automate that process. And so maybe you guys, like you said, develop some kind of platform that is reasonable cost for those folks. And I think that really becomes a game changer for someone that's got like you say, a Shopify or Amazon store, or eBay or something like that. And
Yeah,
they
and
want to, yeah.
in this world, sorry to cut you off there, but in this world,
No.
the enterprise companies, the Fortune 100 companies of the world or of the U.S., they're going to be fine, right? The pandemic
Right.
affected them, but they're going to be fine. The small and medium-sized businesses, that's who's hurting, right? And so we're looking at ways in which we can take our technology, position it and provide it to these companies in a way that makes sense for them as well, through these types of partnerships that we have with, like you said, the e-commerce platforms of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go along with that, because we were talking about New York City earlier, of course, one thing that has come up is people now, as you have this virtual world now, this Zoom world, so to speak, where not only are kids doing school, virtually and that sort of thing, but now people are looking at, commercial real estate, and do I need this space for my team and that sort of thing, and can I direct those dollars, quite frankly, to a solution like Pipestream, right? Does it make more sense, instead of me paying, for commercial rent for space, if my people can be effective working remote? Can we do something along the lines of, again, save cost on the real estate, but let's invest in these things around the experience, right? So that we ensure that our customers have a great experience with our company, a great experience with our people, and then a great experience with our product. And that's more valuable to us than everybody's, kind of sitting on the 10th floor of an office building. And so I'm curious to see, how that happens as we get to, post pandemic, and of course, what that means for commercial real estate, Robin, but certainly what it means for a company like yours, where some companies may be, in some cases, maybe a little more cash rich, as a function of them, letting go of some of the things that they held on to as cost, but they found out they really didn't need, or need to the same scale, right? They don't need 20,000 square feet. Now they only need 10,000 square feet. And so, that savings then gets it's not padded to their pockets. Now that savings, they say, okay, let's call it Pipestream, and let's enhance, this experience that we're having with chat and with, with our people. And then let's turn our call center or whatever into more of a sales force, as opposed to just answering, how much do I owe, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's as a real estate investor, as an operator or landlord, it's a whole new world, right? I mean, commercial real estate in New York, that you can't look at it differently, other than to say that it's in a tough spot right now. That's for sure. I think that, look, unless you're depending on a brick and mortar storefront to actually sell your product, then there's certainly a reassessment, most likely by most businesses, as to, well, what is the value of this commercial footprint that we use for an office space, or for any other use, but of course primarily office space. And for us at Pipestream, yeah, we can work remotely, and we're following the guidance that is in place, and kind of what most companies in New York are doing with respect to working remotely for the time being. But I think there's huge value in the in-person interaction, especially when you're collaborating with your peers and with your coworkers. So I do think that eventually there will be a return to the office. It will be a bit different, for sure. But in the meantime, if you're looking at downsizing, you're looking at ways of maybe reallocating your budget, if you are in fact a digitally present company and your customers interact with you online, which pretty much every company is like that today, then and you're looking at how you manage that customer experience, then Pipestream is there to provide that kind of richer, more immersive experience. It's a way for our customers to kind of adapt to this new world of traffic moving even more online and away from the in-person interactions that we've been so used to for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely appreciate that, Robin. And I wanted to get your thoughts too on, just from Pipestream standpoint, for people that are interested in that from a career standpoint. Something else that's happening, obviously, as an awakening is career transition, and how people are, transitioning careers, because of the impact that the COVID has had on, some industries. People are looking at how they can, transition. And then obviously you've got younger people that have been impacted with this, that are, their senior years in high school and getting to college and that sort of thing, and looking at what their career path could be. Kind of walk through and unpack, for us, kind of the career path for someone that may be interested in doing what you do, or working on your team, or, working at Pipestream. What kind of path do you guys, typically look for, someone that would join your team and be a major contributor?
Yeah, from my standpoint, on my team, of course, we have lots of departments at Pipestream, product, engineering, sales, marketing. But on my team, which is focused on the implementation, the customer experience, the ongoing, what's referred to as customer success, right? So the ongoing support and kind of hands-on engagement with our accounts, we look at a really wide range of backgrounds, actually, because I believe that there's strength in diversity. I think that, diverse backgrounds, both career and, professional and personal, is what creates a really high-performing team. And so, with that said, of course, we look at folks that have, experience, whether it's in this space, they have some exposure, maybe working like you did before in a call center. They know what that means to be in that environment. They understand quality support, because ultimately what we're trying to do is design automated experiences that replicate those types of experiences that they've had with a human. But we look at folks that, if you're still in school, you're pursuing your undergraduate degree, we of course look at engineering backgrounds, computer science backgrounds, folks that are comfortable working with numbers, comfortable looking at data and analyzing large data sets, because as a SaaS company, especially in my team on the customer success side, we look at a lot of data that's generated from our platform, and we try to derive insights from that data. So I would say that for someone who's early in their career, if there's, one specific hard skill that at Pipestream we look at, it's we use a lot of SQL and we use a lot of Python. And those are two languages. If you're out there and you're listening and you either have those skills or you're working towards using those skills for integration work, as well as on the Python side, and then for data analytics on the SQL side, give us a shout. We are hiring, we are growing. We're fortunate in that the pandemic has actually made companies realize that this type of technology is important and can drive significant change for them. So if you're looking for a shift, if you think you have those skills, you can hit me up directly. You can also go on AngelList, angel.co. That's where we post all of our job listings for Pipestream.
All right. Excellent. No, thank you for that, Robin. And hopefully MYB community, if you do have an interest, you definitely go to, and it was angel.co, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's a great, I should say it's a great resource if you're out there looking for jobs in the startup space in general. They're very, very present, certainly in the New York area, but across the US and across the world, really. But great way to find jobs and opportunities if you're looking for more of a startup focused type of role.
Yeah, absolutely. And do folks need to be like in the New York area as they consider those opportunities, Robin, or can they be remote?
Yeah, just like many of our peers and the overall trend, we're looking at folks that can join us from really anywhere in the US or in North America, folks that are ideally still in our time zone. Most of our customers are based here in the US or overseas in Europe. So we found that having a team based here in the US is the best suited for our customers' needs. And look, we're remote at the moment. Eventually, I do think we'll get back into an office mode in some capacity. It might take some time, but that's certainly our vision.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you so much. So Robin, let me ask you a fun question. I like to ask my guests this, and I always like to hear their thoughts. If I were to bring you $100 million in cash, completely, no strings attached, none of that type of thing, just $100 million in cash that I brought to you, what would you do with that money and why?
Wow, that's a great question. I think you have to give an honest answer, right? I mean, it's easy to give you kind of the correct answer if there is one, but I do like to think I would split it in a couple different ways. One is I would probably take, let's just call it a third, just because I think I'd split it into 3 different buckets. The amounts I would split it into, I think I'd have to think a little bit more, but I'd put a third probably into a trust of some sort for my kids. I don't have any kids yet, but I certainly do want to have kids in the future. And I think it's important to give them that opportunity to do what they want with that. I would take another third and probably put it into causes that, are important to me, that I think, are worthy uses of that money, whether it's, I personally think that there's a lot of social injustice in the world. I know that's a very important topic that's happening this year because of a lot of the issues that are affecting, different parts of the community. But I think that is something that I would definitely invest or put some money towards. And then the last third, look, I could probably buy myself some nice things. Let's be honest. So I might spend a couple million on maybe a nice home, something like that. Maybe get myself a nice car. But yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I love that, man. That's definitely good, honest answers there, for sure, no doubt, Robin. Robin, as we get to kind of wrapping up, man, because this has been tremendous. I've learned a lot about yourself and about your company. Talk to us a little bit from your standpoint. What are just 1 or 2 best practices that have worked well for you? A lot of folks listening to this always look for those kind of insight and best practices from us. And what's some things that again really have worked well for you that you think will work well for those listening?
Yeah, I think I guess I'll give you 2, right? Since you asked for 2. One is a bit more kind of, high level or maybe more strategic vision. Like to me, you can't be successful on your own. I think you can be a great entrepreneur and you can, have a great idea, and that can take you a couple steps down the road. But I do believe firmly that you need to surround yourself with individuals who can fill some of the gaps that you have. And it's tough to be able to say like, oh, I'm not good at this. I need someone to come in and help me. So as a best practice in general, I think that if you're growing your business, if you're trying to start something new, if you have that idea, take that idea forward, and at the right time, either right up front or once you've started to maybe grow a little bit, have some customers, start kind of growing your team with people that can fill in those gaps where you might not have a specific skill set, right? It's important, I think, to not have an ego in a business world. Egos are good. And, if you're a driven individual, you need a certain element of ego to be successful. But I do think it's important to, like I said, always surround yourselves with people who can augment you and augment your team. My other best practice, and I figured I would give you one that's a lot more tactical. I think there's 2 people in the world: the people that have 10,000 unread emails in their inbox and the people that have 0 unread. My best practice is have 0 unread emails if you can. every email in your inbox should have something that you still have to action. And if not, you should put it somewhere else so it's gone and forgotten. So, and that helps me keep on top of my to-do list. So.
Yeah. Robin, I love both of those. Obviously, you're exactly right. All of us, to try to be successful on your own is going to be futile, right? It's tough to do that. We all need help. We all have mentorships and guides and things like that. And so, trying to do things on your own, I think a lot of us listening, can attest to some of the ills that come from, trying to do everything on our own and not building out teams and building out systems. And then, definitely, answering your email is a great way. There's a lot of opportunity I think sometimes we all miss with email, right? We may complain about it and that sort of thing, but oftentimes there's a lot of gold mine in your email inbox and communication that could lead to a lot of different opportunities. In a lot of different fashions. And so that's definitely tremendous. So Robin, listen, I thank you, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate learning about Pipestream, about yourself. And, of course, I'm a lover of New York City. I've, been on several occasions. Look forward to getting back here soon. And, but no, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, it was a pleasure being on, Ron, and wish you all the best. And hopefully you get out to New York soon. Would love to have you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If I get out there, man, I'll look you up and maybe we can, you can go to one of the restaurants there and we'll laugh about COVID stuff, I guess.
Take care. Thank you, Ron.
All right, my man. Take care. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. That was Robin Marcenac. He is the head of customer experience and success at Pipestream. Make sure you go to pipestream.com to learn more. And so as your company continues to grow, so you may not be at the enterprise level yet, minding your business community. However, it's great to hear from someone there on the inside of a company that works with some of the enterprise companies, because you never know. You've seen the pictures of Jeff Bezos at Amazon, where one of his early desks was the door that he took off the hinges and put some blocks underneath and made his first desk. That may be you today, but you also may be Amazon.com, which is Jeff Bezos today. And so, don't think small with that at all. But as you see your business grow, or maybe the company you're working for is looking for a solution, connect them with Robin and his team over at pipestream.com. Listen, thank you so much. I appreciate your support of this podcast, and I can't stress that enough. We're quickly heading to 200 episodes, and that's just tremendous. There are not many podcasts, unfortunately, yet that make it to the number of episodes. And it's not just about doing the number of episodes, because anybody can just record an episode. What we always want to make sure is that we're providing relevant content and connecting with you on various levels to help inspire you and that sort of thing to be just a little bit better in what you do. And so hopefully that we're doing that. Connect with me, Ron, at the MYB Podcast. I'd love to hear from you. If you've got guest recommendations, if you something that you liked or want to learn a little bit more about, or something you didn't like, I'd love to be able to hear from that, and do respond to email, again, to Robin's point. So thank y'all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. And remember, there are three things that we all have in common, right? No matter how we look in the mirror, we all want to be a little better for ourselves, a little better for our families, and a little better for our communities. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business Podcast.